I was forced to play mediator between a controlling wife and her husband over a beer order. She demanded I return the tip, but I refused. Story 1, Waitress FML. And our first story comes from Waitress FML. I'm Ivy for refusing to return a tip and telling the couple that I don't have time to play mediator. I'm a 22-year-old female waitress at Texas Roadhouse. This is one of my 2 jobs to put myself through college. Most days are fine, but other days are a living hell. Yesterday, I was assigned a table that had a husband, wife, and what appeared to be a teenage daughter, maybe 17. Everything was going smoothly at first, and the wife ordered a margarita. The husband then tried ordering a beer. The wife instantly lost her noodle and said, "Oh no, he will not have a beer, he will have a water." She then turned to him and said something along the lines of him not needing a drink because he was driving. He said no, the daughter could drive. It was childish anyways. He keeps telling me he wants a beer, she keeps telling me no. In this industry, situations like this are a lose-lose for a waitress. If I get him the beer, the wife won't tip. If I don't get him the beer, he won't tip. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. So while they are arguing at me, I said, "Listen, I really don't have time to play mediator here." They went silent. I went and got both of them their alcohol. The daughter gives me an apologetic look upon my return, presumably because her mother was acting batshit crazy upon seeing me bring a beer in tow. Flash forward to after their meals. The husband has had 2 beers at this point. The wife has stopped drinking and glared at me every time I return. The wife and daughter go to the car while the husband pays. The husband dropped me a $40 tip on a $68 tab. I told him I couldn't accept it. He insisted. Eventually, I pocketed it. The wife comes in an hour or so later demanding that I give her the $40 her husband gave me, stating that I was a terrible host, went against her, and that I don't deserve a tip. She got my manager involved, who said, "She's not obligated to give you her tip. You left the restaurant, and the tip has already been processed. Have a nice night." She was fuming, screaming at me after how much of in a hole I was for supplying her husband alcohol after she said no. Other guests started chiming in, saying that she was being ignorant and that I was doing my job, which is to provide guests with what they want, and said that it wasn't my fault she was a controlling wife. She storms out. Given the fact I was put on the spot like that, I feel insanely guilty. Am I the a-hole? In my opinion, you did totally the right thing in this situation, and I think you're fair play for saying that. I'm not a mediator for you to sort your own out, and you were fully expecting not to get a tip at that point. It's a fair play to you. I think you did absolutely the right thing here. And it sounded like the wife was being controlling, and there are obviously deeper things going on in their marriage than just this, and it's obviously spilling over at this point. As you said, you're already running 2 jobs, you don't need this in your life. And also, gotta say, fair play to your manager for backing you up there and letting you keep that tip and not telling you to hand it over or whatever, because, as I said, you're just in the right in the situation, in my opinion, of course. But let's have a look at the comments below, just see what they say. Purple Fruit says, "Not the a-hole in my opinion. The manager has your back, which is good, and the other customers as well. Really, she's pissed at her husband, not you." Unsightly Fuzz said, "Not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not the a-hole. Glad your manager backed you up." XBX Blast says, "Not the a-hole. Their marital issues are between the husband and wife only. You did your job and brought him what he ordered, and you're more entitled to the $40 tip for putting up with her nonsense." Edit, sorry, I should clarify, I don't see his drinking 2 beers as an issue. I mean the issue between him and his wife that is clearly centered around drinking in the OP's post. I've edited this post to say their marital issues instead of his drinking issues. Redbeard1989 says, "You did perfect, that lady. You're not responsible for insane control issues or their terrible marriage. The mom is the a-hole for sure. Who comes back and demanding a refund on a tip they didn't give? The audacity. I'm glad your manager was cool about it too. Spend that $40 frivolously on yourself, you absolutely deserve it." Now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Should she have just given the tip back? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for Story 1. Story 2, moving to guest room, and our next story is from Milo Truth. Am I the a-hole for moving all of my stuff to my guest room after my husband refused to stop turning the light on at 3 a.m.? My husband just got promoted to shift manager 3 weeks ago. This meant that his 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. shift has now been switched to 4 a.m. till noon. He isn't a morning person at all, so most mornings, he will start huffing and puffing as soon as his alarm goes off. He will instantly turn on our light and very loudly start looking for his work clothes. I asked him several times to put his work clothes out the night before, and he has yet to do so. I've also asked him to not turn the light on or be super loud. After all, when I worked at 5 a.m., I made sure to be respectful of him sleeping. So yesterday morning, when he got up at 3 a.m. and flipped on the light, I grabbed my stuff and went to the guest room. He came in and asked what I was doing. I told him that since he didn't respect me sleeping at all, that I'll be staying in the guest room from now on. He made a comment about the light would only be on for 5 freaking minutes, which is not true. He turns the light on, finds his clothes, and then goes to take a shower without turning the light off. If I turn the light off, he will come back in the room after the shower and turn it on again to grab his socks and put on his shoes, which also pisses me off because the shoes stay in the kitchen by the door. There's no reason he can't put them on at the table. Anyway, instead of understanding, he just got angry, mainly because he is not a morning person and he doesn't like dealing with anything in the morning. So while he was at work yesterday, I moved all of my stuff into the guest room. Last night, he practically begged me to sleep in the bedroom and promised to let me sleep. Well, this morning, he flips on the light again. So I said, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And he says, "I'm being quiet," as if that was the only issue. So I went into the guest room and locked the door. I told him I was staying here from now on despite his efforts to sway me. He thinks I'm overreacting. Am I the a-hole? Edit, for the trolls of Reddit, I do in fact work, so your assumption that I don't is only misled by. Pretty ignorant. Also, the assumption that everything I have is due to my husband working. Another ignorant statement. Not that it matters for the context of this post. I work 4 p.m. till midnight. And, cute little tidbits, I'm the breadwinner. I make nearly 5 times more on my hourly wage. Take that info and shove it. Update, thanks for all the awards and awesome feedback. I am in search of, hopefully, a lightweight mask that one of you suggested. I hope it works. I don't know, putting myself into OP's shoes in this situation, I think I would be pretty pissed off too. The fact that he keeps doing it is, if it happened the first time and then he respected it and said, "Oh look, I'm really sorry, I'll be more respectful in the future," then fair enough, right? But the fact that he keeps doing it and leaves the light on when he goes to take a shower as well. Are you kidding me? And you've given him multiple chances too, so there isn't much more you can do than actually leave the room and then just show him, "Look, you caused this is your problem," and then tell him to sort his routine out. And once he sorts his routine out, then maybe you can move back in, but until then, this is down to him. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Cylinder Amanda says, "Not the a-hole. He is being completely disrespectful. Honestly, if he can't get up in the middle of the night without waking his partner, he should be the one sleeping in the guest room, but since he seems to be completely inconsiderate, I recommend you stay there. You're not overreacting, not even a little." Lost Lonely World says, "Not the a-hole, but if you want your marriage to survive, please seek therapy. There's a much bigger issue going on than you're willing to see right now." I was also thinking this through a story as well. It sounds like he's almost just doing it on purpose, just to spite her, because why else would you continue to do that? And that was going through my head. And then there's another comment below this, and Yanka says, and it says this, "He knows exactly what he's doing. He hates getting up in the morning and resents OP being able to sleep later, so he's punishing her by making sure she wakes up. He wants her to know how much he's suffering having to get up in the morning. ETA, thanks for the awards, far too kind." And that was my thoughts too as I was going through. And I didn't mention it initially because I didn't want to come across as too petty, but yes, that was an interesting one. Not a Girl 77 says, "Not the a-hole. Let's normalize couples sleeping in separate bedrooms. Different people have different sleep requirements." And Nemesis Aranos says, "Not the a-hole. That, my husband works Saturday mornings, and he gets up and gets dressed in the dark or takes his stuff into the bathroom and gets dressed there to avoid waking me. And I do the same in normal times when I commute to work and get up before he does." Now, I turn it to you guys. What do you guys make of the situation? What would you do if your partner was doing that, waking you up in the middle of the night? How would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for Story 2. Or Story 3, Refusing to Meet Grandchild. And our next story is from Scavia 4. "Am I the a-hole for refusing to meet my grandchild? My wife is begging me to come with her. I have a son I haven't seen in 6 years and he is dead to me. If anyone asks if we have children, I say we have one daughter, and that's it. He married a woman neither of us liked, made terrible financial decisions, and ended up having to move in with us. We let him live there for 6 months until my wife and daughter-in-law ended up in a screaming match over lipstick. And obviously, it wasn't really about the lipstick, but I couldn't take it anymore. I asked them to leave, not immediately, but to make plans. My son said that I couldn't evict him legally. I reassured him that I didn't mean that night. I just wanted him to figure it out. He said they were tenants because they had lived with us for over 30 days. Now, it's slightly my fault for not knowing the law, but in my opinion, my son is the scum of the earth. We had to go through a long court process, and it was months before we could get him out. Living in the house was hell. My wife screamed all the time, and it was just unbearable. I told my son the day he left to never contact me again. I don't care if he's terminally ill and needs a kidney, I'm not his father. Well, everything has been great for 6 years, but daughter-in-law had a baby, and he called my wife crying about how much he misses us and that he wants us to meet his son. My wife agreed, though when I asked her about it, she admitted she doesn't really want to meet the baby, she just felt guilty. She's now begging me to go with her because she's uncomfortable, but I never want to see either of them again, and that baby is nothing to me. Harsh words, man. Now, coming into this story, I was like, we're missing so much information here, it's going to be really hard to judge. I thought the story was interesting in itself and absolutely crazy, but there's missing information. So I was scanning for the comments, and I found this one comment from Wednesday Addams, which says, "You're the a-hole," and quoting from a comment of Opes further down, which quotes, "She, Opie's wife, would legitimately stand outside the door until I took off the wall and screamed that she wants them to die and she should have had them aborted. But that was after they basically became squatters. And that is absolutely insane. This is the grandma, the mom of this person in the house, that she said that she should have had them aborted. Who says that kind of? She's absolutely mad. But anyway, Wednesday Addams continues to say, "Your wife sounds like such a deeply bad mother that I doubt your kids were raised in an emotionally healthy way. They didn't have a chance. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Raise your kids with a monster for a mother whose outrageous behavior you support, and you win kids who do dumb, rude, like suing for squatters' rights." ETA, OP is now alleging that his son and Dill's behavior were so bad, it pushed his wife into a psychotic break, and that's when she said these things. I guess it would all come down to whether you believe OP and how toxic of an environment you think the son was raised in. Personally, I think OP's wife, a woman already used to frequently yelling at people, saw a chance to be even shittier to people and get away with it and took it. Now, you can make of that quote as you will. Do you believe OP and what he's saying, that she had a psychotic break and that's why she was saying it, or do you believe she was that way all the time? I think that is the biggest point in this story, right? So, just based on that information, I'm going with an everyone sucks here because it's a complete, absolute mess. And we'll read a couple more comments. One from Purple Violet Pixie, which says, "You're the a-hole," and quotes that same section about the door being removed and saying about abortion and stuff, and says, "The fact that your wife can say this is abhorrent. Your post screams missing reasons. I believe there are some things you're not telling us about how they grew up and how your wife and yourself raised them. I feel so sorry for that baby to be born into this dysfunction." Run Fat Girl Run says, "Everyone sucks here. You sound like a completely toxic family, and that baby is better off without additional drama in their life. Your son sounds aggressive, but you sound like you ramped up from mild disapproval to complete disowning in about 3 seconds flat. Just for your information, it's not normal to be so upset about someone marrying someone you don't like. You don't have to like them. You're not marrying them." So, what do you guys think of this absolute craziness? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for Story 3. Story 4, Abandoning Girlfriend on Mountain. And our next story is from Money Trees, please. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my girlfriend on top of a mountain? First thing that came into my head here is that we read a relationships post the other day about a girl trying to push her boyfriend off the top of a mountain. I thought this might be related somehow. Anyway, I know this sounds bad, but hear me out on this one. It wasn't even a big mountain. Basically, I've been going on hikes alone on weekend mornings. When my girlfriend eats pancakes on Sunday, I went to do a peak that's easy if you're a vet like me, but it takes a few hours. I went early so I would be back for the football game at 1. I could not miss this game, so I woke up early to go, and my girlfriend gets up with me and like, "Let's do it," and I was like, "What?" She gives me this whole spiel about trying to better herself and her body, which she gives me every year, but I still feel obligated to bring her along. Before I agreed, I made sure she understood that it would be challenging, and I was going to be going at a brisk pace because I needed to be home in time for the game. I told her that if she wanted, we could do some lighter hikes later this week, and so she can ease herself into it. But she insisted she could keep up. But of course it didn't go that way. She fell behind immediately, before the real ascent even began. I offered to turn around and tackle it another time, but she insisted she just needed to adjust to the altitude change. Nope. It took us over 2 hours to get up, and she complained and begged for water the entire time. We got to the top, and I told her we needed to get down faster than we went up because if we didn't, I was going to miss kickoff. She got all pissy over that and was like, "Isn't spending time with me more important than the game?" I knew this was bait, so I just said back that I told her the conditions beforehand, and it wasn't respectful of her to slow me down like this. Then she got real mad and basically shrieked across the entire peak that I might as well just leave her up there. I was so angered and embarrassed by her that I did. I told her that the descent down was easier. There were plenty of people around to help her if she needed it, and I headed back down the mountain alone. I felt bad, so I waited for her in the car and watched the game on my phone, and she didn't make it down until the fourth quarter, which I pointed out to her as she opened the door. She won't talk to me. I know my actions were hurtful, but her peak freakout had humiliated me, and I didn't know what else to do. Am I the a-hole? Edit, since people were asking. It was the Jets game. I'm going to tell you straight up, this post was flared immediately, but reading it myself, I'm like, well, I'm getting an everyone sucks here rather than just, you're the a-hole, you know? And I'm not playing down the guy. 100% shouldn't have left her just on top of a mountain, you know? You just don't do that. And leaving an inexperienced person on top of a mountain, you know, it's just dangerous and stupid, especially when she was already previously begging for water. The OP does sound arrogant in his post, and the way he talks about his girlfriend is absolutely wrong. But at the same time, the girlfriend was warned plenty of times before she went on there. He offered to take her on smaller mountains and things like that, and, you know, you might say a football game isn't important, but at this point it was important to OP that was his priority. That's what he wants to see, that he's desperate to get back and see that game, so it was important to him in his life. It might not be the right choice to anyone else, but that was to him at that moment. So, that's why I'm saying an everyone sucks here in this story. But let's have a look at some of the comments below to see what they say. Freja Harkin says, "You're the a-hole. You brought her humiliating outburst on yourself. The way you talk about her wish is to better herself, calling it spiel because she probably failed before, which maybe she could have accomplished with more support. Tells me that she doesn't have a lot of agency nor real room in this relationship, so most of the oxygen is consumed by your ego. I hope she conquers many more peaks at her pace so you can make it to all the games without failure on your own." ETA, a few things that I wanted to clarify because I do understand that I'm not the best at extended paragraphs and English isn't my first language. That everyone sucks here doesn't fit, in my opinion, because the entire post is dripping with disrespect and disdain. It's clear that the OP is with a person who has craven attention and love, and in a relationship of years, that didn't happen by chance. If this is how this woman is described on text to strangers, who knows what she gets to consume on a daily basis and how she is allowed to digest it. Of course, choices will be misguided, regardless of warnings. Many people have presented better options here, but an experienced hiker could have and should have done a lot better than this, let alone a better boyfriend. Regardless of her spur-at-the-moment hiking itch, was not about hiking, and it shows. Thank you for the votes and engaging comments. Look64 says, in quotes, "Basically, I've been going on hikes alone on weekend mornings while my girlfriend eats pancakes," quotes again. "She gives me this whole spiel about trying to better herself and her body. She gives me every year, but I still feel obligated to bring her along." And quotes again, "She complained and begged for water the entire time." And quotes one more time saying, "She got all pissy over that and was like, isn't spending time with me more important than the game?" I knew this was bait, and then says, "Info, do you actually like your girlfriend?" Tea Kettle says, "You're the a-hole. I thought people like you only exist in boomer jokes. If a game is more important to you than your girlfriend, then why'd you keep her around? Reevaluate your life. You sound selfish and narrow-minded. The worst thing is that you don't even know what is wrong with your behavior. Based on the words you use, you think she embarrassed you. How do you think she felt when you abandoned her? You can't even imagine how embarrassing your whole act sounded. I hope at least the game was good." Former city council lady says, "You're the a-hole," in quotes. I pointed out to her that it was the fourth quarter as soon as she opened the door, after a long descent from the mountain that I abandoned her on when she was being annoying and begging for water. And then says, "Super healthy relationship sarcasm." Now I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Is it an everyone sucks here? Should he have left her on the mountain? Should he have taken her down? And what do you think of him about wanting to see the game rather than being with his girlfriend? Let me know in the comments below.